welcome to the Wake Podcast. I'm Alejandra Moreno, and I'm here again with Pedro Salim, my great friend, an immigration, criminal, and personal injury attorney. He knows so much about all three fields. And we wanted to talk a little bit about what I think I've been seeing the most on social media and the news, which is self-deportation.
Yeah.
There was an article, I believe, released by NPR that said very generally DACA recipients should self-deport. And then later I started reading into it because the headline was so sensational. And it's not that. It's DACA recipients that have lost their DACA status should self-deport. But in that same article that I was reading, it was saying, self-deportation, it's being pushed on us because this administration wants to inflate their mass deportation numbers, which is something the president really harped on about in his campaign. But I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think about all of this self-deportation, everything that we're seeing in social media all the time?
Yeah.
What's your legal opinion?
Well, first off, don't self-deport.
Okay.
Talk to an attorney before you do anything.
Okay.
Obviously, the president created this new thing called CBP Home. CBP Home is an app that you can download on your phone and say, hey, basically, I want a one-way ticket to my country. And the government will give you $1,000 and pay for your flight to go back to your country.
Oh, wow.
With the idea that you're going to self-deport, and the consequences, because if you get deported, you have a 10-year bar, meaning you cannot come back for 10 years.
Okay.
By self-deporting with this app, you get the $1,000, but then the penalty is not as severe as 10 years. So that's one of the things that they're trying to push on people to self-deport. Recently, the Secretary of Homeland Security, she just announced yesterday that according to her numbers, 1.8 million people have been deported or self-deported since the administration took office.
Wow.
Seems like a very high number.
Yeah,
I don't know how accurate that is. They'll have to see that. I mean, Obama, who's Mr. Deportation chief, deported 3 million people over 8 years.
Wow.
So the fact that 1.8 million people have deported in 8 months, it seems a lot. But I think before anybody considers self-deportation, you need to talk to an attorney to see, because I have had clients come to my office with that they think they have no relief available, and we're able to help them. I had a client come the other day to my office that, talking to her, and I started asking her questions, because I asked a ton of questions to my clients to try to see where I can grab something from. And she tells me that, she was married to a U.S. citizen 10 years ago, and that she was a victim of domestic violence on a daily basis, verbal abuse. And I'm like, well, you didn't do anything with that? So now she's a resident. Why? Because we were able to get her relief through what's called Violence Against Women's Act. And we were able to prove that during her marriage to a U.S. citizen, she now is a resident, because we demonstrated that she was a victim of violence.
Wow.
So you never know what you have in your hands at your disposal until you speak to an attorney.
Yeah.
So before you consider self-deportation and the $1,000 they're going to give you, talk to an attorney to see what's going to happen. But in regards to the DACA you had mentioned, DACA is a relief. Obviously, it's something that they gave to people who came as kids. Mm-hmm. In order to receive DACA, you had to have been in the United States by a certain date, and you cannot be convicted of any serious crimes or no more than 2 misdemeanors. So if somebody has DACA and they do receive more than 2 misdemeanors, then when they go renew their DACA, they find themselves not being able to get approved the DACA. A lot of my clients that have had DACA, thankfully, have been able to get the residency, because throughout their DACA, they've met somebody, they got married, they traveled, came back legally, and they've been able to adjust their status. So if somebody finds himself in the United States with DACA, definitely do not self-deport. For right now, DACA is still legal and it's still on the books. That may change in the near future, but definitely don't believe half of what you see on the news.
and don't self-deport.
Yeah.
That's the big one. There are different treaties I know that we have with different countries. Yeah. So there are some people from certain countries that might have a fast track or a different track to be able to get their citizenship, but a lot of people, they just stay residents for ever.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
They do. I mean, I always recommend my clients that I get their residency and their green cards. I go, the minute you are eligible for citizenship, you need to do it. Like, I'm going to put you on the calendar whether it's 3 or 5 years, depending on how you got your residency, I'm going to put you in the calendar. I'm going to call you in 3 to 5 years to do your citizenship because
Wow.
I want you to become a U.S. citizen. Because once you're a U.S. citizen, it's almost impossible for the government to take away your citizenship. Almost impossible.
That was my follow-up question because especially in South Florida, we see a lot of people that were naturalized. You know, we're of Cuban descent.
Yeah.
So a lot of our parents came and they're, you know, born in Cuba, but they were naturalized. And I've even heard them saying, what if we get deported?
Yeah,
I'm not going back to Cuba.
That's the media for you, putting the fear.
There's no, once you're in,
Trump's
you're
gonna
in.
take away my citizenship. No. Listen, in order for the government to take away your citizenship, there must have been clear fraud, meaning that you applied for your residency and you didn't disclose certain information that would have made you not eligible for your residency. And it would take and even if they do find that, they need to do a lawsuit. They need to go to federal court to remove your citizenship. Wow. They just can't do it with USCIS or immigration court. They need to go to federal court to do a whole denaturalization process, which is, I'm talking about in last year, for example, in 2024, during the Biden administration, I believe the number was almost 900,000 people became U.S. citizens.
Wow.
Out of those 900,000, a total of like 50 people were denaturalized.
Wow.
So it's 0.00 numbers that people are being denaturalized. So
it has to be fraud correct. Or something.
Now, if you're a resident in the United States and and we have clients that are residents and never do the citizenship out of fear that they don't know how to take the Spanish portion, all that, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to commit a crime or something's going to happen to you. And now you find yourselves in deportation proceedings after being a resident for 20, 30 years. So I always ask, why didn't you become a U.S. citizen? So if you're eligible for U.S. citizenship, absolutely do it. And they just came out that the president's going to make the citizenship exam even more difficult than it currently is. Mm-hmm. Right now, the citizenship exam,
it's like a civics.
If most Americans take it,
half
will fail.
That's what
it really would. Half will fail because it's 100 questions. Out of the 100, they ask you 10. You got to get 6 correct, right? And, you know, my wife taught 5th grade, and I would say her 5th graders would answer it better than most U.S. citizens. But I think right now what they're proposing is instead of making it 10 questions, they're going to make it 20 questions. And out of 6, you got to get 12 correct. So they're doubling the numbers. Yeah. So it's going to make it a little more difficult for people. So if you haven't done your citizenship or you know somebody who hasn't done it, now's the time to do it.
You know, as an estate planning attorney, I see a lot of other estate planning attorneys that, you know, they sign their documents, they're done, they never speak to the client again. Our estate planning clients, we check in with them at least once a year, and we let them know if there are any changes in the law. We remind them of the things that they need to be active with in their estate plan. And now that you said, you know, you calendar 3 years out, 5 years out, you're the type of attorney that it's not like I got you your residency, you're done.
You're done, yeah.
I don't have to talk to you anymore. You're really like on a path with these people.
I want to see them through. I want to see them become U.S. citizens and not have to worry about anything ever being taken away from them.
That's beautiful. I love that. Great. Thank you so much again for joining us. And thank you all for listening from ASM Law Group, preserving what matters most for those who matter most.